In 1903, a French colonial survey team crossed into the southern Algerian Sahara on a mapping expedition that was supposed to last 6 weeks. They returned after 11. 2 of the surveyors were dead, another was committed to a sanitarium within a year, and the report they filed, a 340-page document filled with photographic plates and geological cross-sections, was printed in a limited run of 200 copies before being quietly removed from every public library. The official reason was that the report contained measurement errors. However, the corrected version never appeared. What the surveyors had found scattered across an area the size of Belgium were petrified tree trunks of a scale that defies modern botanical records. While petrified wood is not uncommon in the Sahara, these specimens were different. The largest recorded diameter was 42 meters, or roughly 138 feet. To put that in perspective, a single tree trunk was wider than most city blocks in Paris or the entire span of the Arc de Triomphe. They didn't just find one, they cataloged 47 of them. Today, the original copies of the survey are nearly impossible to find, and the photographs were reportedly destroyed in a 1962 fire that conveniently only damaged the colonial-era archive room. This is the story of a forgotten expedition that might provide the single most important piece of evidence for a theory mainstream history refuses to acknowledge, that we are not the first advanced civilization to walk this planet. To understand the weight of this discovery, we must look at what the Sahara actually is. The common image of endless dunes is a relatively recent development. Between 6,000 and 10,000 years ago, during the African humid period, the Sahara was a lush savanna filled with lakes, rivers, and forests. Rock paintings from this era depict hippos and cattle herders in regions that are now dust-choked plains. However, the trees known to grow during this period, such as acacia and baobab relatives, do not reach diameters of 42 meters. For comparison, the General Sherman tree in California, the largest living tree today, is about 11 meters in diameter at its base. The trees documented in 1903 were on average 3 to 4 times larger than anything currently alive on Earth. The expedition was led by Etienne Machon, a graduate of the École Polytechnique with a decade of field experience and a reputation for precision. On April 19, 1903, a Tuareg guide led Machon and his geologist Paul Renard to a site known locally as the Place of the Giants Who Fell. Machon initially thought he was approaching a series of uniform rock ridges. Upon closer inspection, he realized the texture was petrified bark. He paced the diameter of the first trunk at 31 meters. Stunned, he reportedly remarked to Renard, "We have found something that should not exist." The Tuareg guides maintained that these trees had not fallen naturally, but had been moved. Local oral tradition spoke of giants who used these trees for purposes modern people no longer understood. Skeptics argue that Machon was measuring rock formations or made grave errors, but Renard's independent geological report confirmed the measurements. Furthermore, surviving scans of the original photographs show human figures standing at the base of these trunks, appearing as tiny specks compared to the massive petrified structures. The lack of a mainstream explanation for these objects is largely because the scientific community does not acknowledge their existence. After the 1903 report was withdrawn, rumors persisted that a follow-up expedition in 1907 used explosives to destroy the largest specimens and seal the site under the sand. The reason for such extreme suppression, according to researchers of alternative history, is that the discovery contradicts the established narrative of human progress. This brings us to the concept of Tartaria. Appearing on numerous European maps from the 16th through the 18th centuries, Tartaria was described as the largest empire in the world. Yet by the 19th century, it vanished from the cartographic record, not through conquest, but through erasure. Proponents of the Tartaria framework argue that a global civilization with advanced technology existed and was systematically removed from history. The Sahara trees fit this pattern perfectly. Since there's no botanical lineage in the African fossil record for trees of this size, they were either a new unknown species, or more provocatively, they were harvested and transported there by an advanced civilization for use as infrastructure. The patterns of the trunks support the idea of deliberate arrangement. They were often found lying parallel with regular spacing and associated with what appeared to be artificial earthworks, mounds, channels, and geometric depressions that do not match natural erosion. If these were part of a massive construction project, it would require engineering capacities far beyond what we attribute to pre-Roman societies. The human cost of this discovery was high. 2 expedition members died on the return journey, officially from exposure, though Renard later wrote in a private letter that he suspected they were poisoned. The photographer, Vasseur, was committed to a sanitarium and his papers were destroyed. Machon himself lived until 1934, but remained silent publicly, though his private letters expressed a haunting conviction that the discovery was genuine and a fear of the consequences of revisiting it. Subsequent attempts to relocate the site have met with similar misfortune. In 1987, a geologist named Lucien Paty claimed to have found one of the smaller trunks. Within a year, he was dismissed from his university, his home was burglarized, and his photographs were stolen. He died shortly after, at the age of 51. Whether these trunks represent a lost botanical giant or the remnants of a vanished civilization's industry, their existence challenges the very foundations of our history. If the trees are real, they tell us that our timeline is missing significant chapters. They suggest a world where the engineering of the past dwarfs that of the present. For now, these giants remain buried under the shifting sands of the Algerian desert, waiting for a time when we are ready to interpret the evidence they left behind. The 1903 survey tried to tell us the truth. Perhaps one day, the Sahara will finally give up its secrets.